What's up, everybody? I appreciate y'all watching my videos. If you find my content useful, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. But today what we're gonna go over is stalking or grooming inside your equipment. As you can see, I landed 3 cables already. I started landing the cables, did my jumpers, and I landed 3 of the cables. But one important thing when you start doing this to keep in mind is you want to have enough cable to go anywhere you need to go in the box or whatever specific box you're working on. Because you never know, it might be some engineering changes or something like that. And in case of some engineering changes, you want to keep enough cable inside your box just where you can change it. You can move wherever your cable's going. You can move them to anywhere you need to move them inside the box. As you can see, I left that big loop right there. I started stalking one cable and I left a loop. And if you see, I went up and then I went down and I left that loop. And the reason why I left that loop is because I want to have enough just in case I have to change it and go down here somewhere or go up here somewhere. I didn't take my cable and just go whoop, go straight into the equipment. It'll be all jacked up if you have some changes. But anyway, when you're stalking, the first thing you want to do is you want to take your cable, you want to unravel it, untwist it. And there's no one way to do this stalking work. I mean, some people might take their cable, all the cables, and unravel them and straighten them out first, and then just run one big stalk. I've seen some people don't even stalk it. They just left the cables twisted up, like left the cables twisted and then just did a big stalk with twisted cables. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that method, but hey, you know, you never know what you'll see out there in the field. But the way I like to do mine is I'm gonna take me one cable first, and I'm gonna figure out my route. Like you see, I got these, what they call them, sticky backs. They call them sticky backs, mounting bases, cable mounts, and you can use them inside the equipment. These little black pieces, they got adhesive on the back, and you just stick it to the equipment. You don't want to use too many of these, because sometimes when you get like QA inspections, they don't want to see doggone a box full of these. But what you do is you put your tie wrap, stick it to the box, put your tie wrap around it, zip your tie wrap, and put your cable in there and zip your tie wrap. But like I say, it's a bunch of different ways you could do it. Some people like to straighten all their cables out and then run one big stalk. But for me, I'm gonna figure out my route. With the route, I'm gonna go inside the equipment first. And after I figure out my route, like I did here, I took my cable from here. I took the furthest one for me, and I started working this way. I'm gonna start working this way one by one. But what I did is I took it and I went in, then I went up, and then I made a loop, then I landed it right there. So I'm gonna take all the rest of my greens and go down in this direction. And I'm gonna try to work my way up on this one, either up or down, but I'm gonna work my cables in one direction on the terminal block. I ain't gonna go here and then jump here. I ain't gonna go here and jump here, but I'm gonna start one direction and go up and go down. That way your cables will be a lot neater. But I take my cables, unravel it after I do me one, figure out my route, do one, take it on the route, see how it look. If it look pretty good, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick with that because that look pretty good. Then I'm gonna take me another cable, unravel it, straighten it out. Might have to do this a couple times. Once you unravel it, try to get it as straight as you can get it. You can take it and smooth it out. Some cables, you got some of them flimsy cables with the rubbery type material on the inside. I don't like those because it's hard to get those straight. But a lot of those cables, like with the gray jacket on them, they real stiff, even though they stranded cable. All of these are stranded cable, by the way. Like I was saying, you're not gonna really see no solid cable on the ship. But all these stranded cable. But you got some cables that the actual jacket on the conductor, like this right here, make it easier to smooth it out and make it straight And some cables, it's hard to make it straight. But it make a big difference once you start grooming inside your equipment if you can get them straight. Try to get it as straight as you possibly can. Then I'm gonna wrap it over and I'm gonna ride out that same route with this cable. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take me some temporary tie wraps. When I ride out that same route, I'm gonna tie my cable, the next cable, to that. I'm gonna try not to use too many tie wraps because I'm gonna cut those temporary tie wraps. Kind of show you, give you an idea what I'm doing. See how I took my second cable, this one right here, and I rolled on this first cable that I ran. Rolled on the top of it. I'm gonna ride that cable on out the same route as I ran that cable. I'm gonna try to keep it straight as I can, and I'm gonna use my temporary tie wraps and tie it as I go. And I want to minimize the amount of tie wraps that I use. So I'm gonna use those temporary tie wraps, and I'm gonna ride out this cable all the way up, and I'm gonna land my other ones up here, the white and black up here, and I'm gonna take my green and I'm gonna loop it on that same route that the one that's going to the bottom of these cables right here, the first one I ran. I'm gonna take the green one on that same route as these right here. You gotta think of it inside the equipment just like you got your cable route on the outside of the equipment. You try to run your cables together nice and neat and tight. And it's the same way on the inside of the equipment. When you run your cables, try to run them nice and neat on the same route as much as you possibly can. But like I said, I'm gonna ride this same route that I ran these cables. I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna terminate these and add me temporary tie wraps as I go. I'm gonna have to cut some, take some off, add some. You'll use a lot of tie wraps, but you can make it a lot neater. Like I say, you're gonna see a lot of different stuff. You know, you might see just people just twisted up in one bundle. I haven't seen it. People just leave them twisted. I mean, I guess it ain't nothing wrong with that. I mean, I never really seen anybody like a QA inspector inspect it while it's twisted up like that. So, I mean, I would guess that there's nothing wrong with that. I have to look at the standard and see. But from my understanding, shipboard standard is when you stalk them, try to keep them straight as possible in a big bundle. Like, well, not a big bundle, but in a bundle, you try to keep them all in one bundle and stalk them and keep them straight going up, turn all together, and then you branch out to wherever the termination point is or wherever you hooking it up at. But yeah, I appreciate y'all watching my video. As I go, I'm gonna like periodically show y'all the process, you know, and the different things that I use to try to keep it as neat as possible. And if you find my content useful, like, share, and subscribe to the video. I really appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up. But anyway, I appreciate it.